Hello, hello. How is everyone doing today? ¿Cómo estás? Bien. Okay, so I'm very excited to be here. Quantum computers. How many people know anything about a quantum computer here? There's like two. Okay, so I will give you the 90,000 foot view of, how they, like why they're important. So when you think about a quantum computer, you should be thinking about sort of how computation works. And what we do now, the best analogy I've come up for it with is you go a little bit in think of it like a graph, and you're trying to go through the 2D graph. You're going to go a little bit in the x direction. You're going to check your answer. You're going to go a little bit in the y direction. But with quantum computers, you have this thing called superposition. It allows you to encode more than just the 0 and 1, so more than two dimensions, like more than two answers, into the same bit. And because you can do that, instead of going a little bit in the x direction, a little bit in the y direction, you can go directly to the target you're trying to get to. So that's why quantum computers are important. It makes things a lot faster to compute. It also, obviously, has problems with crypto. How many of you are worried about your crypto wallet getting hacked?
I mean, kind of.
You probably should be. Get your phone out. Open up the photo app, because there's going to be QR codes. You're going to want to click those QR codes and check some of these resources out. So with that said, quantum computers can solve unsolvable problems. So in March last year, we had, and this is the reference if you want to read the actual research paper, we had a result from D-Wave, and the result said, hey, we're beating the Oak Ridge National Laboratory supercomputer. And here's how much we're beating it by. And it was by a lot. And since then, we've had several other very convincing results. I think one from IBM, one from PsiQuantum, and a couple others, where it's like, oh, it might take millions of years to actually compute on a traditional classical computer what we can do on these quantum computers on a matter of days, which is a huge result, right? Obviously, I don't think you can read this, but it says, but at $20 million per machine, the cost and complexity prices out most users. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is how what my personal plan is to get these computers into the hands of technical people who want to play with them much better. Because right now, you go to like Amazon Bracket, and they want like 50 to 100 grand, and then all you get is a meeting with the company behind the scenes, and then it's like a 6-month like development process for like, is what you want to do actually going to work on these quantum computers? And I know this because I've gone through it twice now with 2 different vendors. So it's a big problem. There's a lot of friction involved. I really want to figure out ways that we can make this stuff accessible to people. So we work with owners of quantum computers, and then we figure out how we can get that out to the people. That's the main goal of what we're trying to do. There's also a really cool future thing, which is there's a lot of research now that has shown you can entangle qubits across a fiber optic cable, which is just so you can actually have like a quantum internet where you have a job, you specify the size of that job, right? Each job that you want to do is going to have a number of qubits that you need to have access to. So as you're building and connecting these quantum computers together, I would love to, in the next 5 years, figure out a protocol whereby we can automatically construct these networks of quantum computers to actually build a really big one all at once. Now, you are limited by the speed of light, right? So it slows down the computation a little bit, but the fact that the entanglement works across a fiber optic cable is just wild to me. So, we're building infrastructure. We're going to, mostly it's to share work, ensure payment, but we need to punish these bad actors, right? So how do we do that? Right, so we're focused on problems that are maybe very hard to compute, but also easier to validate. So a classical software validator can validate. So I'm really here to find more people who want to either develop on quantum computers or run a classical validator, and maybe finance buying one of those $20 million nodes when it makes sense. So with that stated, how do we actually kickstart this quantum community? We're very focused on building an open source talent pipeline, which, when we're like, where we are with quantum computers is sort of where we were in like the 1940s. with like the ENIAC, right? The ENIAC I think had like tens of thousands of transistors on it. I just got off a very long flight, so I don't remember the actual number. And we're at 10,000 or so qubits on quantum computers right now. And when you think about a qubit, you should really be thinking about transistors, right? Usually I have my phone and I say, hey, this has 4 billion transistors on it. So if your cell phone is going to have on the order of 4 billion transistors, it's not unheard of that we'll be able to have orders of magnitude like that on quantum computers as they mature. It might take 50 years to get there. That's how long it took for the ENIAC to really happen, but it might be possible. It's also possible we'll hit some physical limits, but right now it looks like we're going to at least grow well past the point of being able to do things like hack crypto. So we're going to focus on that open source talent pipeline. We're going to have devs earn fees, and your classical computer can still either participate in the computation for some of the problems. It might take it 10 times longer, but hey, that's if no quantum computer is available to do that job, that might still be good. But then they can also validate and earn fees on the network. So the big, scary boogeyman in the room, the what do they call it, the 800-pound gorilla, is what about the quantum computer stealing my crypto? So it's very complicated. I encourage you to go check out the Quip locker tool. That's a free smart wallet. But what we've done is we've created a very simple post-quantum multi-sig smart wallet. So it's just your regular wallet with a password that creates a post-quantum key, and then you can go and store your funds there, and then they're post-quantum secure. Right? So, maybe if you look at the specifics, I think that's the next slide here, on the quantum doomsday clock. I also run a newsletter and am the purveyor of this website, where I have analyzed sort of how close we are to this happening. And the most aggressive timeline is in March 2028, which is 2 years and a few months away. In reality, 3 to 5 is a very reasonable assumption. If you are a large financial institution, you should probably be post-quantum secure today. Because that 10% risk that you're in, we're in that 10% risk category right now of maybe, the Chinese, just give you an example, 2 days ago the Chinese said, hey, the US government took our crypto, but there's no details about how they took it. Was it a quantum computer? I don't know, but that's what the attacks are going to look like at first. Everyone thinks, oh, the Satoshi Nakamoto coins are going to go first. They're going to be the last coins that go. It's going to be wallets on the order of like 1 million to 100 million. They're doing daily business. They can't shut down the hot wallet, and or they have a cold wallet with a bunch of with a lot of funds in it, and they've not done that protection on the post-quantum side. So that's how it's going to work. But if you look at the details here, you will see there's a number of qubits you have to reach, logical qubits, not physical qubits. There's 2 different kinds. So. And then there's an error correction. And what we're seeing is every month that error correction just driving down to 0. And we're seeing more and more qubits coming up. And when you combine those 2 facts together, that's where that number comes from. So I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but it is a reasonable estimate. It's the best available information that we have. So quantum computing is projected to be about $850 billion by 2040. I want to make it more than that. I'm hopeful. There's a bunch of ecosystem participants, and what I want you to look at is, where is FANG on that list? There's not that much, right? Google Willow's in there, right? Amazon has their own quantum computer, but there's a lot. The most interesting research is not being done by the IBMs of the world. It's being done by all these other smaller players, and it's a very good chance that we're going to see one or more multiple approaches. So the system we have right now with GPUs, with NVIDIA, they're the dominant player. There really is no, AMD has ROC-M. They're playing catch-up. They've been playing catch-up for a decade. So if you're building a data center, you know what you got to buy. All right, so there's another big problem that we're trying to solve is, how do we compare these things? So, when you have this decentralized bunch of different vendors, it's not clear what you want to buy. So having a public network where you can actually see them live in action competing with each other in an actual contestable contest, I'm sorry, my brain is jello, is like a really, really important thing and a very important validation. Because I suspect you're going to see, D-Wave computers are going to be really good at certain problems. And then IonQ is going to have a totally separate, different class of problems. So we're really trying to figure out what are the computers good for, how do we turn that into a turnkey solution, and then how do we put that on the internet so that anybody who wants to can then build a solution to participate. And I really want to drive this point home. We really want to fight centralization. I don't want to see a bunch of centralized cloud services take over the ecosystem. We saw a talk earlier about how to do like multi-party computation with a decentralized network. I mean, how most people do that kind of thing is generally speaking centralized solutions and closed source software. I really don't, like the core of my being is cypherpunk open source software. And I think we have an opportunity here, especially with quantum computers, given this, that we can achieve an actual decentralized network that we currently, we have decentralized networks like Flux, right? There's Crust, there's Filecoin, there's lots of DPIN out there, but they're on that long tail of the market. I think we can hopefully capture a bit more of it and get people using these computers. And to that end, we know that model works, right? So you've got BitTensor out there, you've got Internet Computer, you've got Flux, I already mentioned, and all these other DPIN projects, they are making money. So we think that if we can get the quantum computers accessible to the people, that network can make money. So this is our background. My founder was one of the main guys behind DGen. His name's Colton. He also ran a startup called Hedgehog, and he was one of the founding members of Acorns. That's the app where you take you round up off the dollar and you put that into a savings account automatically. He was doing something similar but crypto specific in Hedgehog. Unfortunately, regulations killed that business. And I did XX Network. There's a hackathon happening with XX Network. I will be up there after this talk. Please come find me. Ask me more questions. I'm happy to talk about privacy. I'm actually a cryptographer. I've done a lot of post-quantum crypto work. I worked at Draper Laboratories, where they're actually a nonprofit, a 501c3 nonprofit, but they are in control of the missile, the navigation for like all the missiles that can like go up into space and destroy us all from the West. So that includes the U.S. and a lot of Europe. So it was a really important job that I had there. And XX Network, we did a lot of post-quantum computation there, which I've carried that over to do the Quip Locker smart wallet. And there's just a lot of really cool things that we're taking to bear. So Colton's got all of his financial, how do we make this stuff work? I've got all the technical background, and when minds like that collide, I think we're going to be successful. So with that, thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Please contact me on Signal. Please sign up at the website. And you can find me anywhere, pretty much Carback, or you can also email me.
Do you want to see if there's any questions? You have like 5 minutes.
I am happy to answer questions. I know the talks ran late, so I was like, I'm going to compress it.
Like, so excited. So. Are there any questions? We're just all, yay. Okay, let me come over here. Let's do this properly for the live streamers. You're going to just talk as loud as you can into this.
Thank you for the talk. I have plenty of questions to ask later. But I was just wondering, you said the thing about the fiber optic cables being, is that like quantum and QET? Is that, or like, they call it like energy teleportation? Is that what?
Yeah. When you see like teleportation, a lot of it's related to that. So it's how do we take a quantum state in one location and move it to another? And a year ago, they were like, yeah, we can, like 3 feet. That's amazing. But they just did a study where I think it was like several hundred miles, which is just, wow. I would have never guessed that you could make that work. And it's on like noisy commercial fiber optic lines. So if you come see me after, again, the top floor here is the hackathon space. I'm going to be hanging out there the rest of the day. I'll probably be there most of the day tomorrow, so please come find me. And by all means, reach out to me. I'm happy to have a chat.
Amazing. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you.
Dr. Richard Carback.